Hello and welcome to the Model of Mind section. I'm pre-recording this bit, so hopefully if everything works as according to plan, which it never does, but if it does, we're going to watch this together and then we're going to have a bit of a discussion about it. Okay, the first thing, last week we talked about the big question, who am I? Okay, and it's one of these questions that lives outside of physics. If we go back, if we recap a little bit, if you go back and you think of a database, a computer that has every known fact about every star, every molecule, everything that's ever happened, every fact about everything in the universe in this massive database, you could find the entry that identifies you, but that database couldn't answer the question, who am I? Because who I am sits outside of everything that is measurable and everything that can be laid down as a fact. Right? It's a perceptual, existential, experiential thing. This me, this I. Okay, so how do you work with that? You have to be able to conceptualize I, me, the mind, before you can work with other people on helping them find themselves and their path and their recovery. Okay, so with the recovery model and the recovery unit, there's the part of the unit that is about understanding what recovery is, identifying it, getting an understanding of what it is, why it's important, where it's come from, and there's also a development of a skill set, this interpersonal skill set that is essential to good mental health nursing, but to all sorts of nursing, this interpersonal set of skills that allows you to connect person to person. Okay, one of the building blocks for that is a sense of the mind. What is the mind, and having a mind model. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to come up with a conceptualization of a model of mind. It is a conceptualization, it is a model. There is no one's ever taken a photo of it. No one's ever been able to identify where it might live in the brain from a neurochemical point of view, but it is an essential structure to have. What I'm going to show you it was Freud who initially developed a model of mind back in the early 20th century, around about 1920 perhaps, and he started. Now a lot of Freud's work has been scientifically, it doesn't hold up to scientific rigor, but his conceptualization of the model of mind has been very useful for other schools of thought and other models of practice to attach to and to use that model of the mind. You can see it once we outline it. Excuse me. Once we outline it, you'll be able to see how attachment theory would work, how behavioural reinforcement would work, all sorts of other theories to explain who am I, why am I me, can all use this particular model of the mind that we're going to look at. All right, so I'll put it up on the board. First up, okay. I hope you can see that. I can't see that. Let's try a darker colour. Please work, please work, please work. Oh yeah, okay, I can see that. There you go. That's mine. Any questions? All right. It's not very helpful, really, is it? Okay. All right. How's about this? How's about that? You can see that there. There you go. There's a model of mine. Or maybe this will help. Do you recognise it yet? A life on the ocean wave, a home on the rolling deep. Oh, Jack. Okay, iceberg. Conscious, unconscious. Okay. The initial conceptualization was that of an iceberg. a lot of what goes on is unconscious. And if you pause, I know it's really hard in this busy lifestyle that we all seem to be living these days, but if you pause every now and again and ask yourself, why did I do that, X, Y, Z, whatever it is? Now, why did I talk to that person? Why did I decide to have fish for tea? Why did I have that extra drink I knew I shouldn't have? Whatever it is. The question, why did I do what I do? And when you start asking that question of yourself, you realise that a lot of your motivations you're not really sure of. It just seemed like a good idea at the time. And why did you do that? Well, it just seemed like a good idea at the time. Why did it seem like a good idea at the time? Well, we'll get to that about week 8. Okay. So, goodbye Titanic, goodbye iceberg. Hope you can hear me while I'm facing the board. Right. So, mind, psychodynamic theory. Okay, yes, why psychodynamic. Okay, psychodynamic theory, we are a function of our journey. Okay, we are who we are because of what we've been through, what sort of life we've lived, and so on. Okay, it's not quite that simple, but it is predominantly that simple. Okay, if you imagine you're born, okay, so psychodynamic, Sigmund Freud was the first one who started that, this idea that we are a function of our journey. Then came Anna. Right, and Anna Freud developed the ideas of defense mechanisms, things we do to protect our ego, ourself, from anxieties. Okay, so Anna was the defense mechanisms person. Defense mechanisms. Here's the next big one after that. Oh, you could go Erikson's 8 stages. He's a Swedish psychiatrist. Erikson, 8 stages. We might actually cover that one week, because that's really interesting. Right, so psychodynamic, we are a function of our journey, okay? Zen, very Zen. Okay, not quite that simple, and I'll tell you why. Anyone who's got kids will tell you why. Okay, well done. You've got to have more than one kid. If you've got one kid, you probably don't know, but if you've got more than one kid, you do. Is that when you're born, I'm just going to rub my mind out now, hang on. Rubbing. Okay. When you're born with genetic traits. Okay. Some experiences in the womb, some of the things that happen in the womb do affect you as you grow up, particularly or exposure to ethyl aldehydes from the breakdown of alcohol can cause problems in brain development. Exposure to, well, measles, obviously. You get measles babies. So exposure to poisons and toxins, environmental things will affect the fetus. But also, if you're sharing a uterus with a twin, right, one twin will be dominant over the other twin. It's like bedrooms at a really young age. Okay, but anyone who's had more than one kid, child, offspring, loin fruit, as I like to call it, my kids hate it when I call it that, loin fruit. Okay, from the time you're born, well, you have a personality. Some babies, from the time they first enter the world with us, are fussy, fastidious, uptight, difficult to please kind of babies. So you've got fussy babies. I may be getting off on a bit of a tangent. And the other sort of babies are the ones that are really cool, to lay back, and the happy babies that take new foods. You know, when you start exposing a baby to solid food, some babies, whatever you put in their mouth, go, yum, 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 solid food. And others, no, it's apricots and rice. That's the only thing I'll eat. Not interested in new flavours, not interested in new foods, not interested in new tastes. They were born that way, okay? So you do have a genetic starting point. Okay. Now, what happens, because the brain does most of its growing in the first 5 years, and then it has another patch in adolescence. So a lot of the architecture in the brain is laid down in the first 5 years, and that's really important for the development of self. Okay. So when you're first born, whether you're fussy or whether you're a laid-back kind of a baby, id. You are all id. Okay, now id is the term used to describe the basic drives, the need to address hunger, thirst, sleep, safety, comfort, all those needs, all originate in the id, and they are demanding and demand instant gratification. All right, I want it now, thank you very much. All right, now. Now, that's what the id's saying. So when you're born, that's pretty much what you are. You don't really have a sense of self. You don't go, oh no, I've been born and it's the start of the 21st century, water's going to be running out in my lifetime, and oh, the fracking, what am I going to do? Is it even worth living? Is it worth surviving the childhood? I hope I'm not in a refugee camp. I hope I'm in some first world country. Babies don't have any of that sort of stuff going on. Okay, it's all id. I'm hungry, sort it out. I'm uncomfortable, sort it out. All right? I'm upset, sort it out. All right? All id. Okay, so we have the first part of the infrastructure of mind, model of mind. Back on track, Andrew. Is id basic? Basic drives, basic needs, basic stuff, and it's all now, here and now. Okay. As you grow, first 5 years particularly, because a lot of brain growth happens the first 5 years, you have significant others. You have carers, people who care about you. Even ugly babies have people who care about them. Usually, you haven't met my sister, but you have carers, and these carers, they tend to the id, right? And they give messages of social expectation. Right, so the social mores and rules that we all sort of share. So that comes from your significant others. You're not born with that. You know, you take a baby born in Australia and take them over to China and raise them in China. They'll develop the social expectations that Chinese culture places as important rather than Australian culture. Okay, so the social expectations come from significant others. Significant others, usually the parents. In the traditional family, it would have been the mum. These days, it could be the mum or the dad, or the mum and the dad. It could be the auntie, the grandparents, the extended community. But they're the social expectations. They come from the outside, right? And they're the mores expectations. Okay? And that part of your brain, Freud said it's not in the brain, it's outside of the brain. That's why it's difficult to conceptualize. That part of the sense of self is called your superego. Okay? So your superego is the part of your mind responsible for social constructs. Okay? So you're born, you have an id. As you grow, as you develop, as you get taught, you develop the superego. Okay? And as you're growing, you're having to start to interact with the outside world. Okay? You're having to interact with, well, first parents and people your own age and relatives, and then school. You've got to go to school, be socialised. You have to start interacting with the world. Now, the rest of the world, generally, isn't interested in the fact that you're hungry or cranky or have the urge to defecate, whatever it is. The rest of the world isn't particularly interested in that. They're not generally interested in your views of what the moral expectations are and what the social good is, what the rules are. Your view of the rules is a function of where you grew up, who told you what the rules are. Okay? So the outside world isn't interested in that either. Okay, so you have this, dare I say, internal struggle going on between the id, demanding instant gratification, the superego, outlining what the rules are, and the part of the mind that has to interact with the rest of the world is given the word the ego. Okay, ego means self. Okay, so the rest of the world, hello world. All right, yes, well, for continents, there's Africa, there's Australia, Eurasia, Suez Canal. The rest of the world interacts with the ego. The ego is what you see when you talk to someone. When you engage with someone, this is the part of their mind that you're engaging with. This is the part of them that is interacting with the outside world. Okay? Right. Now, we'll just pause there while I rub the board out and we'll go again. Okay. So here is a normal looking mind, obviously. Obviously, it's normal looking. The ego, which is the bit that interacts with the outside world, information in, information out, all goes through there. Okay? Not all, but usually. Superego, you can't do that. You can't fart in an elevator. Right? You hold it in because it's just rude. It's uncivilized. It's not dignified, Muriel. Okay? So the superego is giving you all these messages, and your id might be giving you something else. Bellyache, wind, let it go, hang on. You're in a crowded elevator with 6 other people. Bad time to do it. It's just not civilized. Ego has to decide who to listen to and then act in the outside world according to what it thinks is a fair thing, what it thinks is a good idea at the time. Okay? That's the model of mind. That's where we're going to leave it for now. Later on, we may start to look at some other models of mind, but this is the model of mind. This is so you've got a conceptualization so that when you're working with somebody else, you recognize that it's your ego is working with another person's ego. Right? And they've got their own stuff going on behind that. Right? People operating with you through the, dare I call it, window of operations, I've only just made that up, it's not in any textbook, have no idea or interest about what's going on here. This is all unconscious. If we go, say, put a line through there, all this is unconscious. There is like a warning zone here. The psychodynamicists like to call pre-conscious, and if a drive or something is coming up into the pre-conscious, you get an anxiety about it, you're not sure where it's coming from, but your ego will usually incorporate a defense mechanism. And if you've ever heard the term Freudian slip, where somebody says, someone they don't like, they're meant to say they're a bit late, and instead they say they're a bit fat. I mean late. I don't know where that came from. I do. It came from down here, right? The id just sort of slipped one in, straight from the id to you. That's called a Freudian slip, okay? And it identifies that there's stuff going on in our mind that is subconscious. It's not even in pre-conscious awareness, okay? That's the model of mind, okay? That's where we'll leave it. I hope I remember to mention that this is aside from the recovery model. This is a tool to help you engage during recovery, to be a useful recovery partner. Nothing to do with the recovery model. This is a skills development exercise for nursing skills. All right, let's stop.